Everybody, this is Perch, and this is going to be this kind of serendipitous video because I had this thing in mind that I wanted to talk about, and then I'm in the car, as you can probably tell, and I'm driving around, and I come across this herd of people, and the people are, I have about 30 people, I would say, a big group, and they're all kind of standing at a street corner, and they're all looking down at their phones, and they're just standing there, and I'm like, I'm in my car driving, and they're not moving. Like the light's turning, and they're just standing at the corner, and they all seem to be frantically tapping on their phone. And I'm like, well, what are those people doing? And then it dawns on me, they're playing Pokemon. So it's a Wednesday night. Apparently, Wednesday night is raid hour in Pokemon, which means that you get a bunch of your friends together and you go out on the street and you tap on your phone for a while and you catch Pokemon. That's what raid hour is. So there you have it. It's you're learning something every day. Uh, but as I'm watching these people like frantically tap on their phone, I think to myself, why are they still doing this? It's 2021. Um, I thought this has been going on for a while. What are like we're 4 years more? How long are we into Pokemon? It's been like 4 or 5 years, hasn't it? Like it was a big thing. There's a giant park. If you've been in the Washington area, there's a town called Bellevue, and there's a huge park there that has a circle path around it. You walk in a circle, and right when Pokemon came out, Pokemon Go, there you'd go there, and it was The Walking Dead. There was like hundreds of people in this park, and they were walking around playing Pokemon because apparently there's like a bunch of Pokestops there, so it's a great place to catch Pokemon. And I've got like videos of just like hundreds of people just there, just slowly walking around, everybody catching Pokemon. It's crazy. It looked insane. And so, but that was a long time ago, and I think the fire has died out a little bit with Pokemon. I think, although now I see the 30 people on the street, maybe not. But it just got to, that's a long way of saying um, people are creatures of habit. And what strikes me is that comic books, it very much is a creature of habit type hobby, type community, type whatever you want to call it. It's something built for people who are creatures of habit. And why that is so important, or why I think that's such a key lesson, is that I think a lot of people forget that comics are that. And you look at kind of publisher strategies. What do you know about people who are creatures of habit? Well, in many cases, they're doing whatever they're doing, whatever this thing is, whatever the habit is. They're doing it almost subconsciously. They don't necessarily want to keep doing this. They don't necessarily have interest or excitement anymore in doing it, but they're doing it because they can't stop themselves. It's their routine. It's their thing. That's just what they've been built to do. And if you're a company that's profiting off of these habits, what is it that you need to know? Well, the biggest thing you need to know is don't disrupt the habit. The last thing you want to do is, if you've got somebody spending money to do something without really understanding why they're doing it, don't introduce something that's going to break that habit, because then you'll stop making money. A lot of these people are not in love with whatever they're doing, but they can't stop themselves. So if you give them an excuse to stop, then they'll abandon very quickly, and they're gone, and you don't necessarily have anything to replace it. And I think this, in a nutshell, is what goes on with comics. And what's interesting is that this is why I cringe when publishers do things like relaunch with a brand new #1 issue, or basically do things that I like to call a jumping off point. Comics likes to talk about the jumping on point. Every issue can be someone's first issue. Sounds good. True statement. Except if you introduce the jump there, just like there's a jumping on point, there's a jumping off point. And the problem in comics right now is we've got a lot of jumping off points, and we have a much smaller number of jumping on points. And it's increasingly, I think, a problem. As you look, I do these sales analysis numbers, these videos, and you look at the relaunches, And it's the same story every single time that, hey, we're every time they relaunch, there's fewer people. It seems to shrink. That's breaking the habit. And I think that's the challenge we have here a little bit, is that we have plenty of activities right now that are, excuses to stop buying. A relaunch is in many ways an excuse to stop buying comics. It's just like a habit. People who collect comics are often obsessed with the run. This is why back issues are still a thing. I mean, arguably in a world with trade paperbacks and omnibuses and digital collections and everything else, who cares about back issues? Why should anyone care about a back issue? Well, they care because they want to complete their run. They want to have an unbroken run. They want to have issues 1 to 100. If they came in at 80 and they like this comic, they feel it's collectible, they will go back and bind all those issues at a high cost. I think as a store owner, as somebody who's watched people dig through back issue bins, it's always very telling and very interesting. And I try and learn from customers who obsessively collect back issues. Because if you're not, I mean, that they're telling you a clue. They're telling you that there's a behavior here where this person's willing to not just spend a bunch of money they weren't planning on spending, but spend more than cover. These are people who are willing to spend 20, 50, 100, $500 for a comic. There are definitely comic collectors who look at collecting and say, this is an investment. I'm going to buy it for $100, and in 3 years, I'm going to flip it for $400. There's definitely people that think that way. And I think most collectors, somewhere in the back part of their mind, they think that's what they're doing. But if you really talk to them, the number one driver is, I want an unbroken run. I want to have a complete set. Now, the comic publishers, in theory, know this, or at least they used to. I've been doing these interviews with a lot of people from the past, and the one consistent trait is, you guessed it, they were all comic fans. They were all collectors. They would create newsletters. They would do all kinds of things to enjoy comics. Okay, great. But what does that mean? It means they internally knew the value of the unbroken run. They internally understood that collecting comics was something that they wanted to do as a worthwhile endeavor. Um, Today, I wonder, are we looking at a generation of comic fans that either pirated the books? This is this weird theory I have, and it may be wrong. I don't deny it. That a lot of the comic creators today are from the pirate generation. They basically they did a lot of pirating of the books. Okay, that's, again, not to get into the morality of pirating, but maybe one of the consequences there is that they feel a lesser pull or a lesser importance to completing a run, to actually buying all the comics. And if they feel that way, then would that explain a little bit why we see such bizarre strategies like relaunching the book over and over again, when there's more than enough evidence at this point proving that all this is doing is encouraging people to stop buying? Is that one reason that we've got a group of people now making the comics, printing them, publishing, and working in these divisions that never had that collector bug, never had that drive, never had that momentum to want to actually go and collect them all? Therefore, they miss the value. They miss that part of the hobby. And is that one reason why they do it? I think that there's an argument that could be made there that is part of what's going on, because a lot of the strategies we see for comic books are extremely short-lived, and the numbers back that up. And keep in mind, the people at editorial and publishing at the higher up divisions of these comic shops, they're seeing the same numbers I am. They're trust me, they're seeing the same stuff. And somewhere in their thought process, in their mechanism, they're coming to the conclusion of, hey, it's worth it. Is there cannibalization happening? Absolutely. Is it? But I don't care. It's worth it to me because I'm going to pop that number one issue. I'm gonna get those initial sales, even though the back end looks disastrous. I'm still gonna do that. There's something to that. I don't know. It's there's definitely been a shift in how people think and what's going on. There's definitely been a sizable change that has taken place, and I'm trying to make sense of that change. And this is one of the ways that it makes sense to me is that we've got a group of people now who maybe never grew up with that collector mentality. They don't understand that they're breaking a habit, and that when they break that habit, the customers go away and they typically don't come back. They don't replace it with something new. And so they're doing a bunch of very short-term strategies that over time are going to erode their own business and be very destructive. I don't know. It's something. What do you think? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Let me know if you think that there's merit to this or if I'm just talking crazy, as one way to kind of maybe perhaps explain some of what's going on. Like and subscribe. Check to make sure you're still subscribed, because that's a thing. We need to have that happen, because God help us if people unsubscribe, the world, dogs and cats and all the rest, the world will come undone. So make sure you're doing that. Otherwise, and always, most importantly, thanks for listening.